Now, each time I make a Singapore video on TikTok and YouTube and all these places, everybody keeps asking, well, not everybody, but a lot of people ask, are you a Singaporean? Are you, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but I'm assuming that it means that people are saying that, oh, if you're not a Singaporean, keep your mouth shut about Singapore, which itself is not a very kind thing. But I'm not your kindness coach necessarily, unless you hire me. So I will not comment on that. But since everybody does ask, I just want to get that out of the way now. I'm a Singapore citizen, okay? So let's talk about, and I have been for very long. I'm not a new citizen or whatever, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is yet. I need to do more research. But no, I'm not a new citizen, okay? I've been here since I was 8 months old and done the whole Singapore system, the PAP kindergarten, the primary schools, the secondary school, the army, the everything. All right, so today's topic is about a new law, I believe, or a law that was amended that I came across during this election period. So there's apparently a party called the People's Power Party, which there's somebody in there called Derek, I believe is the founder, who some of my friends told me about, who's been talking about this law in one of his rally speeches. I posted it on my Facebook as well. And it said that the vaccine law, the law during a pandemic, it was amended during 2023 and 2024 to say that during a pandemic or a health crisis or a health emergency, I'm loosely paraphrasing here, but I have the screenshots with me who was sent by another friend, but I'll elaborate more on that in a sec. And you guys please feel free to do your own research and go to the health website. That's exactly what I'm going to do in a couple of days once my schedule at home frees up a little bit. So it says in those screenshots that the Secretary General of Health or General of Health or something along those lines, somebody really official as far as health in Singapore is concerned, can declare or mandate that people need to go take a vaccine or a cure or something of that nature. I forget the exact words, but I have them in my phone in the screenshot, and you can check them out on the website as well, where they can mandate that, hey, to make the country safe, you need to go do this, take this shot or whatever. And if you don't, there's another paragraph, like a few sections down, I believe that was section 47 or something, and then section 51 says, or paragraph 51, however the law goes, it says that if you don't, it can constitute an offense. And then I read on some further screenshots and other posts by contacts on Facebook that can be a fine or jail time. So I want to talk about this because I'm a spiritual life coach, not a politician, and a health coach. So I want to talk about the spiritual and health implications of this for Singaporeans and really for all humans. So it doesn't matter which country this was happening in or if it happened in, but the spiritual and health views I'm sharing with you are the same. Let's talk about it first from a health perspective. I believe that applies to more people because a lot of people will be like, yo, I'm not spiritual, I don't even know what you're talking about in the spiritual stuff. So let's talk about the health stuff first. So as far as the health stuff goes, right? Now, first of all, I know how I've built my health over the last 20, 30 years, from the Singapore schools, the sports, the exercise. Sometimes I had to, and even in the army, my fitness, not bragging or anything, but my fitness actually dropped in the Singapore army. Now that said, of course, I wasn't in a special forces unit or something, in which case it might have gone up. But I just mean in basic military training, my fitness actually dropped. Like I could do less pull-ups, less push-ups and other things. So what I'm trying to say is I've been very fit for many parts of my life. I was also asthmatic, so it was a constant battle. But I think the battle got me a little bit excited. And so I had to fight for my health over the years. And it's been a great challenge and a fun one. So now from a health perspective, if you put things in your body which you don't know what they are, first of all, it can be not very good for you, right? We're just talking basic layman terms here, okay? Now, at least that's worked for me and my clients, but feel free to go do your own research about what works for you. Maybe you're one of those, like, oh bro, just pop anything anybody gives us, yeah, it's cool, it's life, like, okay, if that's your thing, you go do that. But that's not my thing. So that said, the disclaimer is that I've been quite a health geek all the way. And so when I was a kid, some of my primary school friends, he actually called me a health nerd. So So I might be swinging to the other side of the spectrum where I read every single ingredient and so on. That might be a little bit too much for some of you. But I find that by doing that, I've built reasonable health. I am 38 in October. I'm a dad, family man. No, I don't work in fitness at the moment, but I still maintain a reasonably okay body. And other than my sleep cycle, because you know we have some house things going on right now, I believe inside also I'm pretty clean. You know, because when I do bleed, it's like thick red and everything looks healthy. And when we do the blood pressure test, because my dad's a heart patient and so on, it comes out perfect. I thought like it was really bad because I was sleeping really bad, but it comes out perfect. So just to let you know the context of where I'm coming from, and you know, in social studies we learn, oh hello little lizard. So in social studies we learn about analyzing a source. So if you're listening to this, well, I'm the source. So just to give you a few more details about who the source is. So now, if you put something into your body without knowing what it is, this is my teaching and my practice. Well, just logically thinking, and I like to think logically sometimes, you don't know what the outcome will be, right? That's the meaning of the word unknown anyway. So unknown action, unknown consequence, right? It's pretty logical. I wouldn't, from a health perspective, appreciate that as a law if it is indeed real. I need to go to the website and check, but some of my teachers from university and so on, they sent me screenshots, and I was like, yeah, I believe them, but of course I'm gonna go do my own check as well. You go do your own check as well on the Singapore Health website. Better yet, call them. So during COVID, I called Ministry of Health. It's good. The Singapore system is good in the sense you can call them up, email them, they reply. So I love that about the Singapore system. It's wonderful. And it's also great for entrepreneurs, but that's besides the point of this video. So call them and ask them, hey, is it true that this law is in place? Or better yet, if you want it in writing, have them send you an email. So write to them in an email. And so I would not recommend for myself and any of my clients who are learning from me to put anything into your health, into your body, without knowing what it is. And I'm not just talking about vaccines. I'm just talking about anything. Food, drinks, right? It's a basic human caution to, let's say I plonk you into a forest now, and you haven't been given any education on which berries are edible and which berries will kill you. You are going to take maybe a little lick of it first, right? You're not just going to like just eat it, right? That would be crazy or risky, or maybe for some of you adventurous. You decide, your body, your life. So I would not recommend that from a health perspective. And also, if you actually go into the science of these things, and I've been on a few group calls with different doctors around the world, different scientists, where they're mentioning that, hey, these vaccines in the past, the ones for COVID recently, could have been pretty harmful to the human body. And that's just the COVID vaccines, right? Now, what about the vaccines that we anyway take as kids, which are compulsory, right? We grew up in Singapore thinking, hey, this is, these vaccines are compulsory. And it's not just Singapore, it's almost every developed country where they give you these vaccines and then you take them. And then you think like, oh yeah, this is compulsory, it gives me health. But I was actually on calls with scientists and doctors who've studied these in the lab. And they're like, hang on, even these compulsory ones are not necessarily healthy or good for your health. So, that's like a separate topic. So there's the compulsory vaccines when you're a kid. There were the COVID vaccines. And now there's these potentially future new ones, one can imagine, because that's why the law would have been changed after COVID, probably in preparation for the future, right? And Singapore likes to be a bit of a prepared country. So I'm assuming that that's what it's for, right? It can't possibly be for the past, obviously, logically. So now for the future, that third group of new vaccines or cures or whatever they want to call it, whatever the authorities might call it, similarly, I can't right now say that they are bad for your health, but they could be. They could be good for your health, they could be bad for your health. But if they mandate it without giving you all the relevant science and documentation and so on, could it possibly be unhealthy for you? Yes, possibly. It could be. And now, even if we talk about the proper documentation, like what I just said, around COVID, people who are actually in the health field and actually serious about their field, not just those, I became a doctor to earn a living and earn a killing and earn 30K a month, yeah. Not just those, but people who actually got into the medical field because they liked it, they wanted to save lives. And they actually, they do the research about whatever they're selling and so on. During COVID, a lot of them told me that, hey, every vaccine, not just the COVID vaccines, other vaccines, when you take them, you know, the liquid or the ampule or the sort of, not the test tube, but sorry, I don't know the name, I'm not a doctor, but you know that glass thing which contains the formula, you know, just like any other drug or product you buy, right? It comes with a package and a booklet. And the booklet says, many vaccines booklets say that the company will not be held liable if you can't give birth after that, and it's at your own risk. But none of us actually read that, do we? We just go into a clinic in Singapore or wherever, and they go like, oh, this vaccine. I'm like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, it says so in my health booklet, I need to take it. Here's my arm. Here's my kid's arm. And so it's a bit like, a lot of us don't even know that. I don't know that. I went to the best school in Singapore, so-called, in secondary school, and even I didn't know that because they didn't teach this stuff in school, right? They just taught like English, maths, you know, geography, whatever. They don't really teach you how to live in the real world. We had a module called life skills, but that was more like character building and honesty and that type of stuff. Well, to that point, this is honesty. But they can say like, yeah, we are being honest. We wrote it in the booklet. You didn't read it. You're an idiot. So it's up to us to go and find out if we're concerned about these things from a health perspective. So my friends were telling me during COVID that a lot of these vaccines, not just COVID vaccines, but any vaccines, they state a lot of contraindications, a lot of disclaimers and so on the booklet. And there's that. From a health perspective, it's the same example I'm giving right now is just like drinking a bottle of Coke, right? Or drinking alcohol or smoking. It's the same thing. It is, everything's listed on the label. So it's not like they're being dishonest necessarily. Maybe we're just being unaware. So maybe we need to become a bit more aware. And so that's why, you know, there's a lot of women, and the birth rates all over the world have been dropping since these vaccines were administered. And these are stats and data that you can actually find out if you bother to look at the science and look at the experiments being conducted, and if you do all that. But in a busy city, who has the time to do that, right? And I agree with you. Like, I live in a busy city too. And this is going out of my sleeping time possibly. And that's why I look a bit sleepy. So, you know, we can do our own awareness and due diligence and find out. So that's what I want to tell you guys from a health perspective. And now I'll come to the spiritual perspective of mandating a law like that. Oh, sorry, before that, on the health perspective, if they mandate a law like that, that's basically a government or an organization or whoever, you know, talk to the Ministry of Health and find out who made that law. I don't know who made it, but that is whoever made it is basically saying, I know what's good for your health. So keep your mouth shut and take it, or it's an offense, right? Legally, it's an offense to not take it. So if you understand English and logic, then that's basically forcing you, or me, or whoever. So should somebody force something on you for health, right? For perceived health. So if their intentions are good, I totally understand. Like, you know, let's say a very good example, an example of where somebody's trying to be very good. Like, let's say my daughter's running into oncoming traffic. I force her out of the traffic by lifting her up and taking her out. That's forceful. It may not be painful because I'll lift her up gently. It may not be harmful because I'm saving her life, but it's forceful. I have basically taken her out of a situation that she was in by herself. So even if I go like, oh yeah, but that's good for her health or her life, right? It's still forceful. So hopefully the people who are mandating that actually know what they're talking about, because it is force. So, I mean, unless people want to be okay with an offense. But in a country where people are not okay with committing offenses themselves, and they want to be on the right side of the law, which has systematically been championed to be on the right side of the law over the years in a country, any country, I'm not just saying Singapore, but any country, if that has been championed to remain on the right side of the law, and they don't want to commit an offense, then they're probably going to end up agreeing with the mandate, which then means that the mandate is a kind of force, because that person has been psychologically conditioned to, over the years, to be on the right side of the law. So it's a sort of psychological force, right? Because the only reason I'm saying that is because whoever made the law could argue back and say, no, it's not forced. You can commit an offense, just don't take it, but commit an offense. But, you know, who in their right mind or in their conditioned mind would want to commit an offense. So it's a kind of force and manipulation, a little bit. Any psychologist would agree. That's just common sense. If you don't know that, you probably shouldn't be a psychologist. And I'm saying that with confidence because I mingle with a lot of psychologists and I know their intelligence levels and they're very high. So they're gonna probably end up agreeing with that one. If you understand psychology, you'll know that that's a kind of forcing. Now, let's talk about the spiritual perspective. Now, from a spiritual perspective, and it doesn't matter which religion you're in, I'm sure, if I'm understanding religion correctly, my dad is a priest, I'm a priest for the Zoroastrian religion, which is the oldest recorded monotheistic religion, which basically means one God. And it is said to have influenced both Christianity and Islam, and so on. So, although I'm a little bit more spiritual than just religious. In a sense, I'm a bit more of a free thinker. Hello. Hi. So I'm a bit more spiritual than religious, okay? Which means that anything in religion that talks about messing with free will, which is the right of every human, or you can say so this guy in the video believes, sure, is, it's not spiritual because it's messing with your free will. I'm more of a free thinker that way, in a sense, or more of a universal thinker. Basically, you can, if you want to look at the 3D version, that's human rights, love, and kindness. That's what it is. Allowing human beings to live in the way they want to, without oppressing them and putting your will on them. So from a spiritual perspective, it is a violation of free will, where somebody says, you have to do this, or I give you consequences, I put you in jail, right? Or I give you a fine, or I call it an offense. Or maybe we'll be too busy to call it an offense because we're busy running the country. But the fact that it's stated there already kind of scares people a little bit. Like I said, those who've been conditioned to live in a lawfully right society, it already scares you to, them. Like, oh, if I don't do this, it's an offense. Even if no authority actually comes after you. Even if the government knows, no, we just put that there to encourage people to get healthy, to get the vaccine so they don't spread the disease. We don't actually have the time to throw people in jail or whatever. I'm just imagining here, they could say that. Because I have known the Singapore government to be quite fair in various things. Not all things, but various things. They've been fair, just, and actually very good at running certain things in the country. And I love that about them. So, even though they say that, that is a kind of manipulation against free will, So the more loving approach to that would be, not like it's going to be an offense if you don't do this, but hey guys, haven't you considered that if you don't do it, this and this could happen? Them saying that, that's a loving and kind approach, and it's in line with spiritual free will. So it's not in line with spiritual free will to say if you don't do this, this is the potential consequence, you go to jail. That is not really in line with free will. Many people around the world have agreed and in fact quizzed a lot of Singapore ministers on these laws. And I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about this stuff, of the ministers at conferences being quizzed by foreign journalists and so on. And while I do understand some of their answers, like they had something about the drug law, which is, I believe the minister's name is Shanmugam. Was it Shanmugam? I can't remember. The slightly elderly gentleman with no hair, kind of like me, I'm heading that way. He was saying something about, on a podcast, which is, somebody asked, I believe it was the Daily Catch-Up podcast, and they asked him, isn't it too harsh to kill somebody for drug trafficking? And then he said, well, you're only viewing the harshness of me killing that person. But what about all the other lives that person would have destroyed if we allowed them to continue doing what they were doing? Instead of harming one person in one family who's going to be sad that he or she's dead, what about the 100 families that would have been screwed up? So while I understand that there might be good rationale for certain laws like this, or maybe the initial thought was like, hey, we'll protect everyone. I can understand good intention, of course. But nevertheless, the execution of that good intention. And I and my wife, well, she's in HR and I'm in, life coaching, success coaching, counseling, that type of stuff. We're always discussing human relationships, the way we speak to each other, the way people speak to each other, what's a kinder way to speak to each other, and so on, right? We're just evolving along that path. And so it's not the intention that's the final result. And so while that's a bit inconvenient for people with good intentions, you actually have to put in the effort to let the good intention become a good reality, right? Because otherwise, what does it become? Otherwise, it becomes that parent who smacks their kids and goes, if I didn't smack you for this and train you in this, you would grow up to be a bad person, right? Just a simple example, very quick example. And so they may go, my intentions were good. But the kid may grow up at 30 and go, at 30 they might turn around and say, yeah, but all I remember is you smacking me my whole life. So I think you're a bad father or a bad mother. And they're not wrong. They're right about that. That's their reality and their experience. Because the intention is only inside the slapper's mind. The intention has not come out. That good intention came out in a bad action. It came out with a bad action. It resulted in a bad action. If it doesn't result in a good action, and I'm putting good and bad in inverted commas because good and bad, if you study spirituality further, you realize they're just human constructs. In actual metaphysics, science, and reality, there's only actions and reactions. A quick explanation to that is because one action could be viewed as good by 500,000 people and bad by another 500,000 people. So now is that action good or bad? There's no answer. And hence it doesn't exist. It just exists in the minds of people judging it. But what does exist? Actions and reactions. So the action that happened in the physical world is going to have, and even sometimes in the spiritual world, is going to have consequences. That we can say for sure, right? Like if I shoot somebody, right? Let's say we're in a war-torn country, right? And some guy or girl is going around shooting everyone. I shoot them. A lot of people are going to say, wow, that was amazing, you shot them. But the family of that guy or girl is going to be like, why the hell did you kill my son? So that action is good to some people and bad to others. So now is it a good or bad action? We don't know. But what there is consequences, which is I shot the person, okay? Did my arm do a little bit of work, physical work, by pulling the trigger? Yes. What's the consequence of that? I have less energy today because I did a physical action. What's another consequence? The bullet hit the person and the person stopped living. That's another consequence. What's another consequence? Some people whose family members were going around being murdered are now happy about that. That's one consequence. What's another consequence? The family and maybe the army or the party or the community or the group, the militant group from which that person was from, is now sad because that person's dead. That's also a consequence. These are all consequences, okay? And so that's what exists in the real world. Actions and consequences. Not good and bad or right and wrong. Good and bad and right and wrong are words, beliefs, and sort of agreed standards by a group of people in a particular society. And I'm not saying that that's wrong or anything. Yeah, do that. If that works for your society, good. You all decide we want this, we don't want this. Perfect, right? And you use the words good and bad to label what you want and what you don't want. And that's fine. How your society runs, that's up to you. But in reality, and if you study physics and metaphysics and energy and actual things that exist on earth, not just the thoughts inside your own head, there's no more real good and bad and right and wrong. It's all actions and consequences. So that's important to note. So while the intention behind that law might be very good, actually, it might be like, you never know what hardships the ministers or the lawmakers might have gone through. It might have come at a really busy time. Let's say I'm a family man. I can tell you how hectic it gets when, my wife is having this problem. The minister, let's say, example, the minister is going, my wife's having this problem. My kid's having that problem in school. My old dad is suffering from Alzheimer's, right? And the bus broke down today. But in all this, my boss told me I got to pass a new law today. Shit, I'm going to have to be up till 5 a.m. But I'm going to do it because it's going to keep the people safe. You see? So it's good intention, possibly, but it's bad consequences. Because the person was so busy, they possibly didn't think of all the repercussions. And then it feels, pretty bad on the ground. When we look at it and go, what? I got to take something I don't know, otherwise I'm in jail? Like, that sounds nuts. That's the common thing on the ground. And a lot of people don't know about this law yet. And so they're going, in their mind, when they say, no, I don't really want to talk about it, it's not always that they agree with the law. It's that they think it's so nuts that they don't even want to think about it because they don't have the energy to do that. So, you see, the consequences on the ground can be very different from the intention. So it's very important to, as a people, I feel, or forget about as a people, just for yourself and just for myself, I'll be very careful about what I'm putting into my body and so on and so forth. So that's the spiritual point of view. So if you guys like the spiritual point of view and you're either new to spirituality or you've been in spirituality for a while, what I do full-time is spiritual work. You can check out this course on my website. It's called Connect to Your Spirit Guides. I kept the price cheap, so everybody can just, get it if they want to. It's an incantation I teach to connect to your spirit guides, and that helps you to live and access divine wisdom and so on. There's a series of miracles I've listed on the site. It's proof, as far as I'm concerned, of those miracles, and like coincidences that you cannot explain. If you're in spirituality, you already know what I'm talking about. To the average human, to the layman who's not gone into this subject matter yet, it's called a miracle. You'll be like, wow, that's a miracle. How's that even possible? Yeah, it happens. So if you want to connect to your guides, check out that if you're watching this on TikTok, it's the description, zephyrkambada.com/courses. If you're watching this anywhere else, just go to my website, click the courses tab. It's the only course there right now. It's called Connect to Your Spirit Guides. Check it out. So basically, back to the video, is that the spiritual angle is about kindness and love and free will. So from the health side, it is take care of your body and know what you're putting in. Try to know, even in your busy life. Go and do some research. Go and join some groups. Don't necessarily join people or spend time on conversations which is just opinions. You can if you're just into like some cute coffee shop talk or whatever. But if you want the actual science, go into groups that are giving you the actual science, that go learn that from professionals in the field who study that, right? That's their job to study that. So go talk to those people. And from the spiritual perspective, unfortunately, it is not like you can't just take what I'm saying necessarily and go like, this guy's Jesus, he's preaching the truth. I mean, you can, but you can also, think for yourself and go through your own spiritual journey and have a few gurus, teachers, whatever. I've found that's the best way so far. So just like I teach and coach others, I approach a lot of people, different people for coaching, teaching, to upgrade myself constantly. And so learn from different people in the spiritual side, but figure out your own path and what works for your soul and makes you feel good. And I shouldn't say feel good, because a lot of people think spirituality is just about feeling good. It isn't. So it's about living truthfully, and acknowledging the good and the bad. But yeah, so sorry, not the good and the bad, but the kind, the unkind, and all the different polarities on earth. But more on that in my other spiritual videos, which you can check out on my channel. I'll try to upload them to the more vertical formats like Instagram, TikTok, and so on as well, but they're mostly on my YouTube. So that's this new law that I found out, which is troubling me a little. And I heard people say 2023 and 2024, it was amended in, but the screenshot that I got says with effect from WEF, something 2023. So I'm definitely going to call the Ministry of Health, and I urge you to as well. Email them perhaps. Find out, learn the laws of the country you live in. Yeah, hopefully they resonate with you. And if not, approach the lawmakers like a lawful citizen. And don't try not to cause chaos, because it's counterproductive. It's counterproductive. While in some countries, people just like march on the street or whatever, that's a little, it could shake things up. Now, some people may say, a shake-up is what we need in that country. So, okay, you go do that in your country, that's fine. But as far as I've found in Singapore, it's very systematic. So you can email them, you could call them, check with them what the law is. I did check with them actually around 2020 what the POFMA law was, because of a concerned friend who's apparently a scientist. I never knew him to be a scientist, just a doctor. And on LinkedIn it says he works at PwC. And he was saying that, why are you resharing posts from others saying the COVID vaccines are not necessarily safe? And I was like, I don't know, because that's what you do on social media. You share things that resonate with you. Like, what? And then he was like, don't you know about the POFMA law? And I was like, okay, no, I don't. And then he's like, yeah, you could, it could come back and harm you. I was like, okay, I'll call the authorities. That's how it's always worked in Singapore. You call the authorities, they answer you, and it's great. I love that about them. And he was like, I'm going to report you to the authorities. And it's like, report me to the authorities for clicking share on social media? Like, do you even know how social media works? Like, he seems to be stuck in 1998 or something. So anyway, it's a weird guy. But so I did write to them. And then they said, back then, I believe I still have the email from them. They said, no, if you're just stating your opinion, it's fine. If you're stating like, I feel scared about this, I feel sad about this, I feel happy about this, I feel great about this, that's not illegal in Singapore. Well, thank God, otherwise it would be a dictatorship. But what is illegal is if you say that somebody did something they didn't do and make it seem like fact, you know. Like if you say like, oh, this politician did that, or that doctor did that, or this housewife did that, or this helper did that, or this construction worker did that, right? Or this bus driver did that, or my boss did that, and they didn't actually do it, then, you know, and they can prove that they didn't do it, or you cannot prove that they did it, then that could be potentially illegal. So yeah, so again, it's very important to be aware of all the laws in the country you live in. And yeah, and then, you know, decide if you like that country, you don't like that country. If you don't like, you can always leave. You know, it's a free world. You can leave, go to another country. But what I heard is that several countries might be enacting this law where the vaccine's a mandate. And again, not to harp on the same point, but from an intention perspective, I can understand how they might be scared and want to keep everyone safe. But on the ground, it can come across as not really in line with personal health or personal spirituality. So what I do urge you to do is to think for yourself, you know, and I think that's in line with the Singapore government's message, actually. From as long as I can remember, they've always been urging us to study, be smart, be intelligent, and so on. So educate yourself about the laws, educate yourself about your own body and health. That is primary. You know, your own soul and your own being and your own body, that's you, right? After you, it's everything else. To start with, it's all you. So start with you. If you're not a happy, healthy human being, you can't really serve anybody else around you. So go do that. That's my message for today. And just to let all the people on TikTok who are watching this know, somehow the Singapore videos do really well on TikTok. But my primary work is not commenting on social or political matters, but I thank you for the support. My primary work is in the health and spirituality space. Of course, if any laws and rules like this pass over into it, I'll talk about them. But mainly I keep myself focused on health, spirituality, communication, relationships, getting people out of their trauma, healing them, helping them live a better life, social work, that type of stuff. So yeah, take it easy and have a good day. Bye-bye.